One of the first signs that COVID-19 was affecting geopolitics is when nations started to blame each other for the pandemic. Now, though, something different is emerging. Nations are starting to compare themselves to show who has dealt with the pandemic better. Take Canada. At a press conference, Canada's Prime Minister said Canada has dealt with the pandemic better than many of its allies, including its neighbor, a veiled shot at the US. Now, obviously, this is a bizarre comparison. Canada has a much smaller population and economy than the US, and a very different culture. But what's more important is this. In times of global crisis, it's not normal or typical for allies to criticize one another. Except now, during the pandemic, nations are doing just this, even if it defies logic. Other nations are sending messages in a different way. Take Sweden. At the beginning of the pandemic, Sweden's approach was hailed as an alternative to lockdowns. People were out entertaining, getting together. Except the deaths and cases started to rack up very fast. Now, countries like Denmark and Norway are locking Sweden out of new tourism agreements. And the press is calling Sweden a pariah state, even a cautionary tale. The point is, nations are using COVID-19 as a way to bolster their global image. And they are taking steps that could ultimately backfire. Countries that are called out or isolated may retaliate in the future. How countries are treated during this pandemic could influence and even define the future of world affairs. Will Sweden augment its foreign policy away from Northern Europe? Or will the United States rethink its relationship with Canada? Comparing success could give nations a boost in the short term. But ultimately, comparing success can end up fracturing and hurting the geopolitical relationships these nations have become dependent on.